3, 2, 1. We're live now. Dustin, Heath, how are you?
Doing great.
Good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
You're here visiting from North Carolina. You live there.
Winston.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina. You just purchased a home.
Again. Yep.
A new home.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I never thought I would have done that so many times at my age, but we seem to just be doing it every couple of years, which is...
Is there a reason for that? It's cool. Every home that you get, it seems like you're getting a cooler home.
Yeah. I feel like like throughout life, your tastes change and like your circumstances change, you know, and your career changes and at least for me, my family's changed. And so all of like our requirements and just likes and dislikes are always kind of evolving. And so every house is kind of like fit for a season.
Yeah. What's the house for this season? What does it have that you wanted?
Close to the kids' schools. Like my last house, that wasn't a thought. But now it's like, okay, well, Owen's going to kindergarten this year, so like commute time to the school is a factor.
Yeah.
My job's changing, so commute time to work is a factor that wasn't before.
Right.
You know, multiple kids. We've got 2 now and maybe another one. So like size is make sure that we have enough size for another one if we have one.
Right.
And then, yeah, even more like less practical and more aesthetic. I think just like our taste and I feel like as we grow and have more time to just be an adult, like we end up saturating ourselves in more content. And so like when I was in my 20s, I don't think I knew what I liked or didn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was just figuring it out.
You're trying to figure out life.
But then like when you've owned a house for 10 years and you've moved a couple times, like you start to settle into like, oh, I liked this thing about that, so I'm going to keep that. But I didn't love this thing about that, so I'm going to get rid of that and swap that out with something new. And so then it becomes this more refined set of taste,
right?
I guess, if you will. Yeah.
I feel like for the most part, in like your 20s is just a lot of unfamiliar territory because like you kind of have to be, especially if you have a wife, a spouse, and children in your 20s, which you did.
Yeah.
But then I feel like you're right. Once you get into your 30s, because you're
34.
You're 34. Once you get into your 30s, you know what you like, and you are heading that direction. And it's like, why start to just mix things up a whole bunch right now? Like you're pretty much comfortable. You're growing into the comfort that will hopefully last until your 50s.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know how long this phase will be. Like I think if you were to ask me 10 years ago, like what phase are you in now and how long will it last? I would have been like, I'm an adult and I'm going to be an adult for the rest of my life. But now looking back on the last 10 years, I would be like, oh yeah, I was in my like becoming an adult, entry level, like early 20s, figuring out, didn't know at all. I thought I knew way more than I did.
Because from 24 to 34, you're like, there's not much from before that is still really a big part of your life. It's like, I feel like for you, from what 24 on has been like that's what your life is and will be for a long time. Yeah,
like when I was 24, I was single. So, you know, like whereas now so much of my life is Holly and the kids and I was doing a totally different job too. So like from 10 years ago to now, like so much is different. I lived in a totally different state.
Do you feel like your college years set you up for that? Like, do you feel like college for you set you up to get you through until you were 24, or was college poised to you as like what you're going to have here is going to last, you know, until you retire? Like this is setting up for retirement, or do you feel like it just sets you up until you were in your mid-20s and then you figure life out at that point?
I think a lot of people, that's a good question, because I think a lot of people go to school and they're like, I just need my paper so I can get my first job, so I can start my career, and then like I'm going to build my career off my first couple of years in that field.
Right.
And but I feel like for me, college was more, I'm going to become an adult during those years.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to learn what it's like to actually have to do crap that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't just education, it was an experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a life, you know, and right now with COVID and everything, like a lot of people are kind of going through that, and they're having that debate right now of like, well, you know, if I'm going to have to do school virtually next year, like, do I even want to do it, or do I want to take a gap year? You know, there's kind of this, and then even in this last semester where a lot of students started the semester in person and then finished it virtually, there's been a lot of thought, I think, into like, well, could college be all virtual? Like, is that a thing that people would be interested in and we want to go there?
Right.
Like, is it just about learning the content and just having everybody distribute it? Or is there this kind of thing about living on campus together and having that college quote unquote experience?
Meeting new people.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I feel like, okay, so even from number one, from talking to students in college and in high school who are going into college,
right?
More and more is going to go online, and I feel like the way our country is, I understand that shift. It'll be interesting to see what the result is from what you're saying of like if they're not getting the experience of being on your own, of having to grow up and then having to meet new people. Like if they're lacking that, but they get the education 10 years, you know, when they're about to be 30, what does that look like in their life?
Yeah. Does it shift them to, like, there were so many lessons that I had to learn, but I learned them in college where it was kind of a training wheels safe space, as opposed to if you do the virtual, do it all from home, then that period of time when you learn those lessons becomes when you're working full time.
Yes.
And so now, like, you don't have the training wheels. So like your employer becomes a part of that training wheel kind of environment. Your friend group becomes it. Your mentors, if you have some, hopefully, you know, which is not terrible. Like it can definitely be great.
Sure.
You know, it's not like, I don't know that one is better than the other. I think for me, it was college. It was a brick and mortar college experience, you know, leaving Maine and moving to Western Pennsylvania and spending 4 years, like being 12 years or 12 hours away from anybody I know.
Well, which is pretty unique for you. You went to college not knowing a single soul.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you, is this right too? I remember you telling me. When you got there to take classes, was that your first time on campus?
No, I visited.
You had visited?
I had visited once. Yeah. My junior year. And then, well, I guess no, it was the spring of my senior year. Okay. So I visited the spring of my senior year, and then came back like 8 months later or whatever as a freshman. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was 12 hours away. So I didn't have a car. Right. Like I hitched a ride from like a random person I met on the message boards. This was before Facebook. Yeah. Before Facebook. So we had like, is there even a life before Facebook? There's like a school message board where you would like post blog posts about like, hey, it's just basically a large email. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was a big email chain. Yeah.